So my name's Glenn Scalhorn, and I'm one of the directors of the Thinker Community Interest Company. It's really the central aim of the Thinker is to create opportunities for people to exercise their thinking and to develop their thinking skills. I mean, one thing I always say is that lots of people pay attention to maybe their physical well-being. So especially in January, lots of people tend to sign up for what?
The gym.
The gym, New Year's resolutions, yeah. Okay, and they go... and you know, they go a couple of times and then, you know what we've got. I've been there, I've got the t-shirt. And so, yeah, you know, there's a lot of I think in our society there's a lot of attention on physical well-being, which is great, isn't it? You know, we've all got to be active, we've all got to look after your bodies and whatnot. However, I don't think there's as much of an emphasis on exercising the mind. And I'd say that it's equally as important. And when you think about it, everything that you believe, all of those beliefs that you hold, about, you know, they can be small beliefs, they can be gigantic, they can be beliefs about politics or whatever it might be. All of those beliefs stem from your thinking and how you think. Secondly, all of the values that you hold, so what you think is good and bad, right and wrong, they all stem from the way that you think. And thirdly, and this is really important, at every stage of your life, all of the decisions that you make, some of them can be small, some of them can be incredibly important. They all stem from how you think. So if you're able to develop your thinking skills, if you're able to become a better thinker, then I'd argue that the beliefs that you hold, the values that you hold, and the decisions that you make are going to be better quality. So I think there's a lot at stake here, because especially with those big decisions, we don't want to get it wrong. You know?
But these days, children are taught what to think rather than how to think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of children, how they experience education is being sat in the classroom with the teacher as the font of all knowledge. And the idea is that the children are kind of like empty vessels and they're just to be filled with facts. I mean, of course, that's not always the case. And that's a bit of a generalisation, I suppose. But I don't think that there is enough emphasis on trying to get the children to think for themselves. Because that's really how the children become empowered. That's how people become empowered, when they're able to think for themselves. And they're not just being pushed around by the ideas of other people. And this is, you know, part of it is really letting the children know that what they think and that their contributions are valuable.
And not to be ridiculed.
It's listening to children. Yeah, it's listening.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm talking, listening.
That's it, yeah.
And I think also, speaking from experience with working with children, the introduction of Ofsted and things like that, because it's so, you know, I used to say a child will work out that dry sand will go through a funnel and wet sand won't. But they need to find that out.
Yeah.
But because of the way Ofsted introduce a lot of what has to be done, you're not technically, I used to bend the rules all the time, but you're not allowed to let them think.
Yeah.
You tell them, well, that will do this, this will do that.
And I think quite often teachers are quite frightened by asking those kind of questions, because they don't know what the children are going to say. They don't know in which direction things are going to move in the classroom. And like you say, when you've got Ofsted and the teachers being kind of worried about them sitting in on the lessons and seeing what's going on, they want things to be kind of really structured and organised, and there's not that scope then to allow the children to really exercise their thinking and their discussion. So in terms of education and the education of the next generation, for me I think it's a really important thing that we need to be putting those things in place whereby the children are able to think for themselves and to think critically. I absolutely love philosophy. Like, when I was at school, I didn't even know that philosophy was a thing. And I was having these kind of discussions with one of my close friends, and I didn't realise that there was a subject called philosophy. And but anyway, I ended up, I went to university and studied philosophy, and I really got the bug for it. And it became not just a subject, but really a kind of a way of life. It sounds a bit of a cliche, but it's true. But I'm also kind of very conscious of the fact that for many people, philosophy is a word that is a bit daunting, and that I'd say that the vast majority of people in our society don't really have much of an idea about what philosophy is. So for many people, philosophy is a kind of a mysterious word. It's a word that you hear every now and again, but it's difficult to pin down. So can I just ask, put your hands up if you watched or listened to the cup final yesterday? Yeah. See, I can see the Liverpool fans. And actually, within football, we sometimes hear the word philosophy, don't we? The philosophy of the football team. Is the team an attacking team or a defensive team? Sometimes, my wife is Jen, she's a staunch Red, and she hadn't been to the game for about 30 years. And then last year she got a ticket from our next door neighbour, and it was Liverpool versus Man United. We all know what the score was. It was 7-0. And we can imagine the Man United manager being interviewed at the end of the game and saying something like, well, it's been a disastrous day for Man United, but we just got to be philosophical about this and look forward to the next game. Does anybody have a suggestion as to what is meant by the word philosophical in that context? Wisdom, we've got to be wise about this and look forward to the next game. Anybody else?
Acceptance.
Accept in what kind of way?
Well, they have to accept the result and concentrate on that.
Yeah.
Thinking, a lot of thinking to be done after that 7-0
Yeah. We've got to think about this, we've got to be wise about this.
Yeah.
We've got to accept what's happened. What do you think is being suggested in terms of what you shouldn't do? You're on the receiving end of a 7-0 drubbing. What does it, when you say you've got to be philosophical about this, what's being said here about what you shouldn't do? Yeah, thanks Ron, you shouldn't overreact.
Yeah.
You shouldn't let your emotions get the better of you. You shouldn't fall into a pit of despair. And actually, when we look at the history of philosophy, we see that there were a lot of philosophers who were very interested in this idea of controlling our emotions. And part of the idea of, what does it mean to lead the best kind of life? What does it mean to lead the good life? Well, the good life involves being able to control your emotions. Because it can be quite tough. People can get very angry or very jealous or very bitter. And a focus of many of these philosophers has been, what do we need to do in order to rein these emotions in and be fully in control of ourselves? I don't know, does anybody here kind of sometimes find that your emotions get the better of you, or?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. This idea of being philosophical as being kind of calm and in control of your emotions, there's that kind of aspect of philosophy that remains within the language that we use today. It certainly isn't the whole shebang. The question of what exactly is philosophy? I think we can tackle it from three different directions. Okay? So first of all, we can look at the origins of philosophy. Sometimes people say, if you want to know what something is, look at where it came from. Secondly, people might say, well, if you want to know what something is, pick up a dictionary, look at the definition, that's how you'll find out what it is. Thirdly, other people might say, if you want to know what something is, you want to see how it's done in practice. See how it's carried out. So we can ask the question, well, what exactly is it that philosophers do?